where I make my next dollar, it's not going to change my life. Where I get my next smile, where I get my next hug, that's life-changing.
What are the most important things to you as a business leader and an entrepreneur?
You know, it really depends where you are in your life. When you're just getting started, you may not be a leader to anybody more than, the two people who work for you, but it's still a responsibility. And I think as you gain more success, however you define that, being a leader becomes more and more important. How you define success becomes more and more important. What you're able to do and the impact you're able to have becomes more and more important. Where I am in my life at this point, it means trying to accomplish things that I've dreamed about but was never in a position to try to accomplish or succeed at, and that's what I'm trying to do now.
At this point in your career, since you are so successful, what would you say motivates you?
Impact, trying to enjoy my family, enjoy just my life, but trying to do things that can disrupt things that have been done the way they've always been done and have an impact where I can.
So what's a typical day in the life like for you? How do you balance, your investment, Shark Tank, the Mavericks? How do you fit all of that into one day?
I mean, my days are pretty boring, honestly, because I do everything via email. I mean, I rarely have meetings, really do sit-downs like this, rarely do phone calls. I mean, I'll do them. I might have 1 or 2 phone calls a day, which is that's an increase. It used to be 1 or 2 a month. Maybe 1 meeting every 3 weeks at the most. And so because I push everything to email, I'll get up, say goodbye to the 2 kids that are still at home before they go to school, unless they leave early. And then I'll grab something to eat, go back, sit in bed or sit in my office and sit in a chair and just do emails for 2 hours. That's it. I'm just cranking out the emails because I want people to get a response as quickly as I can. And then I'll go to my office, sit in front of my computer, do more emails, and then I'll go work out if I can, or go play basketball if I can, and do more emails. And then my kids will come home, try to hang out, eat dinner with the fam, and, do whatever from there, and during the Mavs season, I'll go to as many games as I can and watch them all or attend them all. And so that kind of breaks up my schedule from there. And it's really, really, really basic. But part of that is trying to keep up with everything. And so, when I'm not answering emails, I'm trying to learn. I try to be curious about everything technology related, and technology moves so quickly, whether it's AI, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, medical technology, whether it's, sports technology, computer vision, those are the things that give me a competitive advantage. And so knowing those and being curious about them and just continuously updating my knowledge base on those is also important to me, and I'll spend time every day doing that.
What is your biggest regret when it comes to your business career?
My biggest regret was I wasn't as nice as I should have been. In my mind, I didn't suffer any fools, right? If I didn't think you were using common sense, then I would get annoyed. And no one liked to be around me when I was annoyed. And for me, it was just like faster, 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 faster. The train's speeding up. How fast can we go? That was a huge regret that I would do over again. I think with the Mavericks, when we had our problem with sexual harassment, and I wasn't there to oversee it, I thought by that point in time I wasn't, like today, I didn't go into the office ever. And so I missed it, and it hurt a lot of people, and that was awful. So I'd say, those 2 things are probably the lowlights of my career.
Who have been your biggest influences?
I'd say my dad. My dad did upholstery on cars and worked 6 days a week, getting up early, coming home late. Lost an eye. Physically was just beat the hell up. Crawling in cars, pulling out seats, cutting the tops off to turn them into convertibles. It was just, he busted his ass to do what he could for us. And but he always smiled, and he was always great. And he just gave me the attitude that, work is work, but, you only have one life. And, it's interesting to me that, one of the questions people always ask me is, what would you tell your younger self? And they allude to the fact that, what would you tell your 16 or 17 or 18-year-old self? And really, that's not the self I would want to talk to. What my dad taught me was, talk to your 40-year-old self, your 50-year-old self, because we hit 40 and we think we're old. We hit 50 and you're going to think you're old. You're not. He was adamant about the fact that today's the youngest you're going to be, and you got to live young and be young and act young and feel young. The young 40-year-old, the young 50-year-old, that's who needs to hear it. And I learned that from my dad, and that was the most impactful thing. And then my wife and my kids.
So tell us about Cost Plus Drugs, how you got involved in the company and in the national discussion and debate on drug pricing.
So there's two elements there. One is with healthcare. And so probably 2017, when there was a lot of discussion when the Republicans got into the White House about getting rid of the ACA, there was a big question mark about what would replace it. And so I was talking with various people in the administration, and they were like, "Oh, if you have any ideas, let us know." And so I started looking at, what could be created to replace the ACA. So I started funding these studies with various economists to just look at what are the underlying costs of healthcare. And around the same time, I got a cold email from Dr. Alex Oshmayansky. And he was telling me about the pharmacy, the compounding pharmacy he was creating in Denver that was looking for funding to be able to create drugs to handle shortages of drugs. So very often drugs, even generic drugs, go in short supply. And when that happens, either somebody jacks up the price or they just is not available or very difficult to get. And so as we were going back and forth via email, I started asking questions. Well, why stop here? And, that was when Mark Shkreli was doing his thing and he was going to jail. And I was like, well, if this idiot can jack up prices 1,500% or whatever it was for Daraprim, that means there's fungibility in the pricing. There must be an opportunity to reduce the cost as well. Can we look at that? And so that's where we started the process of working together to say, okay, what are all the regulatory issues? What are all the pharmacy issue, all the I's you have to, the dot and T's you have to cross just to be in this business. And that took about 3 years. And we finally got to the point where it was, okay, let's start working with a drug called albendazole, where we had somebody manufacture it for us. And what albendazole is a drug for hookworm, for parasitics. And it's still a problem in rural areas of Alabama and Texas, South Carolina, and other places across the country. And it costs $200 per course. And I was like, well, if we manufacture it or have somebody manufacture it for us, what could we sell it for? And he was like, $12. Okay, that's an indication that maybe there's something that we can change here. And so we went through the process, working with Baylor School of Medicine, and I think it was their health sciences group, and had somebody manufacture it for us, went through the whole FDA approval process, worked with a bunch of clinics where we provided to them a cost and then started selling it as a Cost Plus Drugs branded drug. And we learned some things there and said, okay, now it's time to expand. Can we go and work with a bunch of generic manufacturers to offer as many drugs as we possibly can? And that was the genesis of where we are today with Cost Plus Drugs. We partnered with a company called TruePill, who's been great to work with, where they help provide software and build the website and all that, and became our dispensing pharmacy. And that shortcutted a lot of the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And in January of 2022, this year, we launched our website and started shipping about 110 drugs. And from there, we've grown to probably 900. By the time people see this, 950 of the top 1,000 generic drugs that are available that we're offering on Cost Plus Drugs.
What do you think is your biggest success to date?
My biggest success to date is probably my kids. They're everything to me. Outside of family, probably cost plus drugs. Even though we've just been at it and started shipping January of 2022, the impact is beyond anything Alex and I ever envisioned. And so to be at this point where now literally people are coming up to me in the street and hugging me and said, you just cut my cost of medication from $1,500 a month to $17, and things like that. That's just insane, and that makes me feel great. Where I make my next dollar, it's not going to change my life. Where I get my next smile, where I get my next hug, that's life changing.